The mystery behind synchronicity. There are moments in life when something happens that feels too precise to be coincidence. You think of a friend and they call within minutes. You glance at the clock and see the same repeating numbers again and again. You stumble across a book, a video, or a conversation that answers the exact question you were wrestling with inside. These moments give you a strange feeling in your chest, a mixture of awe and certainty. They whisper to you that reality might be more alive, more connected, and more responsive than you ever imagined. This is the phenomenon we call synchronicity. Synchronicity is more than chance, more than luck, more than random alignment. It is the experience of meaning breaking through the surface of ordinary life. When synchronicity appears, it carries the undeniable sense that the universe is speaking directly to you. For many, it arrives at times of transition or transformation when your inner world and outer world begin to mirror one another in uncanny ways. These moments of alignment challenge the belief that reality is random. They suggest instead that reality is intelligent, that it speaks a language made not of words but of patterns, signals, and symbols. To understand synchronicity is to understand the secret dialogue between consciousness and the cosmos. It is to realize that your thoughts, emotions, and inner states are not isolated within your mind, but ripple outward into the field around you. And in turn, the field responds, sending back reflections in the form of people, events, and symbols that resonate with your state. This is why synchronicity feels so personal. It is not just happening in front of you. It is happening for you as if the universe is answering your unspoken questions. In the early stages, people often dismiss synchronicities as coincidence. They shrug off repeating numbers, call them luck when things align too perfectly, or rationalize away the sense of connection. But deep down, something lingers. You cannot shake the feeling that you were meant to notice, that you were meant to pay attention. The human mind is wired to look for patterns, yes, but synchronicity goes beyond pattern recognition. It is not just your mind connecting dots. It is reality presenting those dots in such a way that the meaning is undeniable. When you open yourself to synchronicity, you begin to realize that nothing is truly random. Life is not a series of disconnected accidents, but an intricate web of intelligence. Every moment, every symbol, every encounter has the potential to reveal guidance. Some call it the universe, some call it spirit, some call it the quantum field. The label does not matter. What matters is that you recognize you are living in a responsive reality, and synchronicity is the language it speaks. This recognition changes everything. Once you begin to see synchronicities not as accidents but as signals, your relationship to life shifts. You stop feeling like a passive passenger tossed around by random chance. You begin to feel like a co-creator, an active participant in a larger conversation. Each synchronicity becomes a clue, a signpost pointing you toward alignment with your deeper path. It is not about control but about awareness. The more aware you are, the more fluently you can read the language of the universe. There is a reason why synchronicities often cluster during times of personal growth. When you shift your identity, when you step into a new way of thinking or being, your frequency changes. The field responds to this shift by reflecting it back to you. You may start noticing patterns in numbers, repeated symbols, or seemingly impossible coincidences. This is not random. It is feedback. The universe is confirming that your inner change is rippling outward. Imagine standing before a mirror. When you change your expression, the reflection changes instantly. Synchronicity is like that mirror, but instead of glass, the mirror is reality itself. When your inner world shifts, reality reflects the change back through meaningful alignments. At first, you may only catch glimpses of this. But the more you notice, the more frequent and undeniable the synchronicities become. This is why synchronicity feels like magic. It is the dissolving of the line between inner and outer, the collapsing of distance between thought and reality. The dream and the waking world blur, and you realize they are both part of the same continuum. The key is awareness. Without awareness, synchronicities pass unnoticed. With awareness, they become luminous. The first step toward understanding synchronicity is simple. Pay attention. Begin to notice the repeating patterns in your life. Begin to acknowledge the subtle nudges, the intuitive pulls, the strange alignments. The more you honor them, the more you will see. This is not imagination, it is resonance. When you tune yourself to the signal strengthens. Skeptics will tell you that synchronicity is nothing more than the brain's tendency to seek patterns. They will argue that repeating numbers or strange coincidences are statistical inevitabilities in a universe of billions of events. And while there is truth in the brain's love for patterns, that explanation cannot account for the timing, the precision, the deep resonance that synchronicities carry. When you experience one, you know it is not just chance. It hits you at the exact moment you need it in a way that is too personal to dismiss. That is the mystery, and that is the invitation. The universe is alive. It is conscious, intelligent, and responsive. It communicates not in human language, but in symbols, alignments, and resonance. And synchronicity is the clearest proof. Each time it happens, you are being shown that your life is woven into a larger order. Each time you notice, you are reminded that you are not alone. The universe is with you, guiding you, nudging you, showing you that your path matters. So what is this secret language of synchronicity? It is the language of alignment. It is the reflection of your inner state written across the outer world. It is proof that consciousness does not end at the skull, but extends into the very fabric of reality. To understand, it is to step into partnership with life itself. No longer blind, no longer asleep, you become aware that everything is connected, everything is communicating, and everything is guiding you toward expansion. As we journey deeper into this exploration, you will see that synchronicity is not just a curiosity, but a tool. It is a way to navigate life with greater clarity. It is a way to confirm your alignment with your purpose. It is a way to trust the process even when results have not yet appeared. By the end, you will realize that synchronicity is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens with you. And once you learn to read it fluently, your entire reality changes. Why synchronicity appears at the edge of change. If you trace back the times when synchronicities have appeared in your life, you will notice a pattern. They do not usually flood in during periods when everything is stagnant and predictable. They emerge during moments of transition, when your identity is shifting, when your energy is stretching beyond the familiar. This is because synchronicity is feedback from the universe, a mirror that confirms your movement into new territory. The more you grow, the louder the mirror speaks. Think about the last time you felt pulled toward a big change. Maybe you were about to start a new career, step into a relationship, move to a new place, or take a leap of faith in yourself. Right around those decisions, small signals began to appear. The right person called you at the right time. You stumbled across a phrase in a book or a video that echoed exactly what was swirling inside your mind. You saw repeating numbers or patterns that felt like signals. These synchronicities were not random decorations. They were the universe whispering, "Yes, keep moving. You are on the right path." This is why synchronicity feels so electrifying. It is not simply that something strange has happened, but that it arrives at the precise moment when you are already on the edge of breakthrough. Synchronicity is not passive, it is participatory. It meets you where you are. When your inner state shifts, the outer world begins to reflect it back through alignment, and you are given a sense of confirmation. It is tempting to dismiss these events as coincidence, but notice how perfectly they arrive. You are wrestling with a decision, and the answer arrives in conversation with a stranger. You are doubting yourself, and a sign appears in a way that feels like a direct reassurance. You are questioning your direction, and the world sends you a symbol that says keep going. Even the skeptics, when faced with timing this precise, have to pause. The deeper truth is that synchronicities cluster around the moments of greatest transformation. It is as though the universe itself leans closer when you are about to evolve. The energy of expansion amplifies the field, making patterns easier to perceive. The more you step into your potential, the more alive the field becomes. Synchronicities act as mile markers on the road of change, telling you how close you are to your destination. Yet there is a subtle danger here, and it is important to understand it early. When people first open their eyes to synchronicity, they often become obsessed. They scan for signs constantly, demanding the universe send them proof at every turn. But this neediness distorts the signal. When you are desperate for synchronicities, you are broadcasting lack, and the field mirrors that energy. True synchronicity arises from alignment, not from craving. The key is balance. Notice the signs when they appear. Honor them, smile at them, allow yourself to feel the reassurance. But do not cling to them. Do not make them your identity. The signs are not the destination, they are road markers. If you drive a long journey and spend all your time staring at the signs, you miss the beauty of the road itself. Synchronicity works the same way. It is there to guide you, not to enslave you. So how do you tell the difference between healthy recognition and unhealthy obsession? Pay attention to how you feel. When you notice synchronicity with a sense of gratitude and calm, you are aligned. When you chase after it with desperation, you are off balance. The signal becomes distorted. Think of it as music. If you sit quietly, the melody comes through. If you keep fiddling with the dial and demanding it play louder, you lose the harmony. There is also another layer. Synchronicity is not always about comfort. Sometimes the signs that appear push you into discomfort. They challenge your assumptions. They show you a mirror that forces you to face the truth. You may not like the message, but it is still alignment. If you ask for clarity about a relationship and immediately encounter evidence that something is wrong, that too is synchronicity. It may not feel warm and reassuring, but it is still guidance. This is why awareness is so crucial. You must be willing to see the full spectrum of signals, not only the ones that flatter your hopes. The universe is not playing to your ego. It is reflecting your energy with precision. Sometimes that means encouraging you forward, and other times it means revealing what needs to be released. Both are part of the same language. Both are essential to your growth. At the core of synchronicity is resonance. Your thoughts and emotions are not isolated. They ripple into the field. When those ripples match larger patterns in reality, synchronicities occur. This is why they are most common during times of transition. When you are in motion, your energy is more dynamic, more vibrant, more likely to sync with patterns in the field. When you are stagnant, the ripples fade and the field reflects less vividly. The more you embody your future self, the more synchronicities you will see. This is not magic in the sense of breaking natural law. It is the deeper magic of recognizing that consciousness is woven into the structure of reality itself. Your state of being matters, your vibration matters. And when it shifts, reality shifts with it. Synchronicity is the proof. Consider this. Every culture, every tradition, every lineage has stories of signs, omens, and sacred coincidences. From shamans to saints to philosophers, people have always sensed that life speaks in patterns. Modern science may use the language of quantum mechanics or neuroscience, but the essence is the same. There is a dialogue between you and the universe, and synchronicity is the wordless language of that dialogue. So when you find yourself on the edge of change and synchronicities begin to cluster, recognize them as the universe leaning closer. Recognize them as the mirror becoming clearer. Do not run from them, do not chase them, simply honor them. They are signals that your energy is aligned, that your direction matters, that your path is unfolding. The next step is to learn how to interpret them with wisdom. Not every coincidence is a synchronicity. Not every repetition carries meaning. The difference lies in the resonance. When a signal strikes you deeply, when it carries a sense of undeniable relevance, when it feels like the universe is speaking directly to you, that is synchronicity. The resonance itself is the proof. As we move deeper, we will explore how to cultivate this awareness without obsession. We will see how to sharpen your perception so you recognize the signals, and how to hold your alignment so that synchronicity becomes a natural part of your journey. For now, understand that you are already living inside a responsive reality. The signs are already around you. The question is whether you will notice, whether you will listen, and whether you will allow them to guide you into your next breakthrough. Sharpening awareness to read the signs. The difference between someone who lives surrounded by synchronicities and someone who barely notices them is not luck. It is awareness. The signs are everywhere, but without the eyes to see, they pass unnoticed. Once you sharpen your awareness, you realize that reality is constantly alive with signals, each one offering guidance, confirmation, or direction. The universe has always been speaking, but now you learn to listen. Awareness begins with slowing down. Modern life is filled with noise. Distractions bombard your senses from every direction. Screens, notifications, routines, and endless worries pull your focus outward. In that state of fragmentation, you cannot perceive the subtle whispers of synchronicity. It is like trying to hear a soft melody in the middle of a thunderstorm. To recognize the signals, you must quiet the storm inside. The simplest way to sharpen awareness is through presence. When you are fully present in the moment, you notice more. A phrase overheard in a conversation stands out. A number on a receipt seems to glow with meaning. A chance encounter feels charged with significance. The signals were always there, but your scattered attention kept you blind. Presence is the gateway to perception. Another aspect of awareness is sensitivity to resonance. Not every event is synchronicity. Some things truly are random or irrelevant to your journey. The way you discern the difference is by feeling into the resonance. When an event aligns with your inner state, it vibrates differently. You feel a spark in your chest, a tingling in your skin, or a deep knowing in your gut. That resonance is the stamp of synchronicity. It is how the universe says, "Pay attention, this one is for you." It is important to trust these feelings. The rational mind will try to explain them away. It will insist that everything is chance, that you are imagining patterns. But your intuition is not a mistake. It is the deeper part of you that recognizes alignment. The more you honor it, the more reliable it becomes. Over time, you learn to tell the difference effortlessly. The mind may doubt, but the body knows. Awareness also means noticing patterns over time. A single repetition may not mean much, but when a symbol keeps appearing in different contexts, it carries weight. You dream of water, then see water imagery in unexpected places, then hear a conversation about rivers. This cluster of symbols is synchronicity. It is not random because it repeats across multiple layers of your experience. The pattern itself is the signal. Sharpening perception also requires humility. You will not always know the meaning of a synchronicity immediately. Sometimes the significance only becomes clear in hindsight. That is why it is wise to keep a journal of your experiences. Write down the synchronicities you notice, even if you do not understand them. Later, when the pattern completes itself, you will see the larger picture. This practice deepens your trust in the language of the universe. It is easy to slip into over-interpretation, however. Awareness must be balanced with discernment. If you treat every minor coincidence as a grand cosmic message, you dilute the power of true synchronicity. The key is resonance. A true synchronicity feels alive, undeniable, and often carries a sense of perfect timing. If you are honest with yourself, you will know the difference. Do not grasp at every flicker of chance. Wait for the events that strike you with depth. As your awareness sharpens, you begin to see that synchronicity is not limited to numbers, symbols, or words. It flows through everything. Nature itself becomes a messenger. The flight of birds, the shifting of clouds, the rustle of leaves can all carry meaning when you are attuned. Conversations with strangers turn into mirrors of your inner thoughts. Music lyrics play as if they were written for you. The entire world becomes a tapestry woven with signs. When you live this way, you realize that reality is not static, it is participatory. You are not separate from the universe observing it at a distance. You are within it, part of the flow, and it speaks back to you as you speak to it. Every thought, every feeling, every choice ripples outward. Every synchronicity is the echo returning. The more you tune into the conversation, the richer and more vivid your experience of life becomes. One of the most profound shifts that occurs when you sharpen awareness is the dissolving of loneliness. You begin to feel accompanied. The signs remind you that you are not walking alone. Whether you call it the universe, God, spirit, or the quantum field, you sense an intelligence walking with you. Each synchronicity is like a hand on your shoulder, reminding you that you are guided. This comfort is invaluable, especially during times of challenge. Synchronicity also sharpens your intuition in return. The more you notice external signs, the more you trust the internal ones. Your decisions become smoother, less clouded by fear or doubt. You move with confidence because you know reality will confirm your steps. Even when the path ahead is unclear, you trust the dialogue. You are no longer stumbling blindly. You are walking in rhythm with the universe. At the same time, you must remain grounded. Synchronicity is not meant to replace action. It is meant to guide action. You cannot simply wait for signs forever. You must also embody your alignment through choices and behavior. The signs confirm the direction, but it is your responsibility to walk the path. Awareness without embodiment becomes empty fascination. Awareness with embodiment becomes transformation. Another key to sharpening awareness is cultivating gratitude. When a synchronicity appears, pause and give thanks. Gratitude amplifies the signal. It tells the universe you are paying attention, that you value the conversation. Just as people are more likely to keep speaking when they feel heard, the universe amplifies synchronicity when you acknowledge it. Gratitude keeps the dialogue alive and flowing. Some may fear that living in awareness of synchronicity will make them paranoid or overly mystical. But the opposite is true. Real synchronicity grounds you. It connects you more deeply to reality, not less. It reminds you that life is intelligent and responsive, not random and empty. Far from making you detached, it makes you more engaged, more curious, more open. You see life not as meaningless chaos, but as a meaningful dialogue. As your perception sharpens, you will also notice that synchronicities tend to arrive in clusters when your energy is high. During moments of joy, gratitude, or deep alignment, the signals multiply. During periods of fear or distraction, they fade. This is not punishment but feedback. The universe reflects your state. The more coherent your energy, the clearer the mirror. Synchronicity becomes a living measurement of your alignment. By learning to recognize and interpret these signals, you begin to navigate life in a new way. Decisions become less about fear and more about resonance. Paths become clearer, not because you know every step ahead, but because you trust the conversation with the universe. Synchronicity becomes your compass and awareness becomes your map. Together, they guide you through the unknown with confidence. The truth is that synchronicities have always been present. The universe has always been speaking. The only difference now is that you are listening. You are tuning your awareness to the subtle frequencies of meaning that others ignore. And once you hear the language, you cannot unhear it. Life will never look the same again, because everywhere you turn, you will see signs of connection, guidance, and alignment. Sharpening your awareness is not about forcing synchronicities to appear. It is about becoming receptive to what is already present. It is about living in such a way that you notice the whispers instead of waiting for the shouts. The universe is subtle, but it is also precise. When you develop the sensitivity to hear its language, you realize it has been guiding you all along. And so, as we continue deeper into this journey, you will learn not only to see synchronicities but to use them wisely. You will learn how to let them guide without controlling you, how to let them confirm without making you dependent, how to walk in partnership with the universe rather than chasing its approval. This is the path of mastery, and synchronicity is the language you will master. Reality reorganizes before breakthrough. Every true transformation begins within. Before your outer circumstances can shift, your inner identity must evolve. This is one of the deepest reasons synchronicity arises when you are on the edge of breakthrough. The moment you begin to embody a new self, reality begins to reorganize itself to match. This reorganization can feel chaotic, even overwhelming, but it is always purposeful. Synchronicity emerges during this time as a confirmation that the chaos is not random. It is the precise recalibration of your life to align with your new frequency. Think of identity as the blueprint of your reality. The way you see yourself determines what you believe you deserve, how you respond to challenges, and what you notice in the world around you. If your identity is small, your reality contracts. If your identity expands, your reality follows suit. When you change your identity, you shift the blueprint, and reality has no choice but to reorganize. Synchronicity is the proof that this reorganization is underway. This process often begins with discomfort. As your old identity loosens its grip, you may feel resistance. Doubts rise, fears intensify, and old habits resurface. It is easy to mistake this for failure, but in truth, it is the final protest of a self that is dissolving. The turbulence is not a sign you are off track, but a sign you are about to cross the threshold. Synchronicities appear in this turbulence to remind you that you are not lost. They are the subtle markers guiding you through the storm. For example, imagine you are stepping into a more confident version of yourself. As you begin to embody this, old insecurities may roar louder than ever. But right in the middle of those doubts, synchronicities appear. A stranger compliments your presence. A phrase jumps off a page reminding you of your worth. A repeating number sequence shows up when you are about to collapse into fear. These signals are not accidents. They are the field responding to your new identity, echoing back confirmation that the shift is real, even if it feels fragile inside. Resistance is a natural part of this process. Your nervous system has grown accustomed to the chemistry of the old self. It craves the familiar emotions, even if they kept you small. When you step into the unknown, the body protests. This protest shows up as fear, self-doubt, or anxiety. Many people interpret this as evidence that they should stop, but in reality, it is proof that they are moving forward. Synchronicity is the reassurance that appears in the midst of this resistance, saying, "Yes, keep going. This discomfort is part of your expansion." Reality itself seems to reorganize during these times. People may leave your life, opportunities may close, and circumstances may shift suddenly. It can feel as though everything is falling apart, but in truth it is falling into place. The old structures that cannot sustain your new identity must dissolve, and synchronicity helps you see the order within the apparent chaos. Each sign is a reminder that even the endings are aligned with the beginnings about to emerge. Consider how a forest transforms after a fire. To the untrained eye, it looks like destruction. But beneath the ashes, the soil is enriched, seeds are awakened, and new growth bursts forth. The fire was not the end but the clearing. The same is true of your life. When your identity shifts, old patterns burn away. Synchronicities arrive like green shoots among the ashes, reminding you that life is reorganizing, not ending. The deeper you move into your new identity, the more precise the synchronicities become. At first, they may be general symbols, broad strokes of reassurance. But as your alignment strengthens, the signals become sharper. You may ask a question internally and receive the answer externally within hours. You may hold an intention and see it reflected back in a way that leaves you speechless. This precision is not coincidence. It is the field recalibrating to the frequency of your new self. The reorganization of reality can sometimes feel uncomfortable because it requires you to release control. Your mind wants certainty. It wants to know exactly how things will unfold. But the universe speaks in synchronicities, not in detailed instructions. The signs show you enough to keep you aligned, but not so much that you can cling to control. This is why surrender is essential. You must trust that the reorganization is intelligent even when you cannot map it out. It helps to remember that the universe always seeks coherence. When your identity shifts, anything incoherent with that new vibration begins to dissolve. This may include relationships, jobs, or habits you once relied on. If you hold on tightly, you prolong the chaos. But if you trust the synchronicities and allow the release, the reorganization flows more smoothly. Each time you surrender, another piece falls into place. Synchronicity also acts as encouragement to keep embodying the new self. Without these signals, it would be easy to doubt the process and retreat to the old. But when you notice the signs, you gain the courage to stay steady. You realize that reality is already responding, even if the final outcome has not yet appeared. This is the power of synchronicity. It keeps you walking through the uncertainty until the new reality stabilizes. There is a profound moment in every transformation when you realize the synchronicities are no longer random sparks, but a continuous stream. You wake up to see repeating numbers, hear phrases that echo your intentions, and feel guided throughout the day. It is as though reality itself has become conversational. This is when you know the reorganization is almost complete. The universe is not just nudging you occasionally, it is walking with you step by step. At this stage, your task is to remain steady. Do not chase the signs and do not fear the resistance. Recognize that both are natural parts of the same process. Synchronicity is the proof of alignment, and resistance is the proof of growth. Together they mark the passage from the old self to the new. When you hold coherence through both, the breakthrough becomes inevitable. So if you find yourself in the midst of turbulence, remember this truth. The chaos is not random. The endings are not failures. The resistance is not proof of weakness. All of it is the reorganization of reality responding to the evolution of your identity. Synchronicities are the guiding lights that appear in the storm, reminding you that you are on the path. Trust them, follow them, and allow yourself to be carried into the new. And when you step fully into that new identity, you will look back and see the pattern. You will see how perfectly everything aligned, how every challenge was a setup for expansion, how every synchronicity was a breadcrumb leading you home. You will realize that nothing was wasted, nothing was random, and nothing was separate from the intelligence guiding your life. This realization will not only change how you see your past, it will transform how you step into your future. Serenity and surrender unlock more signals. One of the greatest misunderstandings about synchronicity is the belief that you can force it to appear. People who first wake up to the reality of signs often become obsessed with chasing them, scanning every detail of life for proof, demanding the universe send them a message on command. But synchronicity does not respond to grasping. It is not attracted to noise. It is drawn to serenity, to stillness, to the vibration of surrender. The quieter your inner state, the louder the signals become. Imagine trying to see the reflection of the stars in a lake. If the water is turbulent, the image is distorted. If the surface is calm, the reflection is crystal clear. Your energy works the same way. When your mind is restless, anxious, or desperate, the field struggles to mirror back coherence. But when you cultivate serenity, the mirror is clean and synchronicities shine with precision. This is why so many of the most profound synchronicities appear not when you are demanding them, but when you are relaxed. You are walking, meditating, journaling, or simply enjoying a moment of presence, and suddenly the universe speaks. The message arrives not because you forced it, but because you created the space for it to flow. Synchronicity is less about effort and more about receptivity. Surrender is often misunderstood. Many think it means giving up, abandoning dreams, or becoming passive. But surrender in the spiritual sense is active trust. It is releasing the need to control the how and the when, while staying aligned in the what and the why. It is embodying your future self and holding faith that the universe knows the most precise way to deliver the reflection. You still move, you still act, but you do so without clinging. That is surrender, and it amplifies synchronicity because it clears the distortion of desperation. There is a calm confidence that comes with surrender. Instead of chasing every symbol frantically, you notice them with gratitude. Instead of panicking when the signs seem absent, you trust that alignment is still unfolding. This steadiness strengthens your frequency. The field mirrors not the chaos of your impatience, but the coherence of your faith. The more surrendered you are, the more fluent the conversation with the universe becomes. Serenity is the foundation of this surrender. It is the ability to remain steady in uncertainty, to breathe even when outcomes are unclear, to radiate calm even when the world feels chaotic. Serenity does not mean you never feel fear or doubt. It means you are not consumed by them. You allow them to pass like clouds across the sky without losing sight of the sun. This state creates a vibration of openness that synchronicity flows into naturally. When you live in serenity, you notice that synchronicities feel different. They arrive more frequently, more precisely, and with greater clarity. They are not vague hints but sharp confirmations. A phrase appears that answers your exact question. A number sequence repeats at the perfect moment. A person enters your life with precisely the message or opportunity you need. The signals become so precise that dismissing them as coincidence becomes impossible. This is the amplification of synchronicity through surrender. Stillness is another key. In the stillness of meditation, the nervous system calms, the mind quiets, and the subtle frequencies of the universe become audible. When your inner world is noisy, the whisper of synchronicity is drowned out. But in stillness, the whisper becomes a voice. This is why so many spiritual traditions emphasize silence, meditation, or contemplation. They are practices of tuning the antenna of awareness so the signal of synchronicity comes through. It is in the stillness that you realize synchronicity has always been present. It was not absent before. You were simply too distracted to notice. Once you create space, you see that life has been speaking all along. Every alignment, every symbol, every coincidence is a thread in the larger conversation. Serenity and stillness allow you to read the threads with clarity. Another layer to this is the paradox of effort. The more you chase synchronicity, the less it seems to appear. The more you relax into alignment, the more it flows. This is because chasing vibrates lack. It signals to the universe that you do not trust, that you need constant proof. Serenity signals trust. It says, I know I am aligned, and I welcome confirmation when it comes. That vibration is magnetic. The universe responds not to your words, but to your state. Think of it like friendship. If someone constantly demands reassurance, the relationship feels heavy. But when someone trusts you, the connection flows effortlessly. The universe relates to you in the same way. Synchronicity is not a prize to be demanded. It is the natural reflection of a trusting relationship with life itself. When you embody serenity, synchronicities also take on a new quality. They are no longer just signs pointing you forward. They become living experiences of partnership with the universe. You stop asking, "Is this real?" and begin saying, "Thank you, I see it." The dialogue becomes continuous. You are no longer scanning the horizon in desperation, but walking with confidence, knowing the signs will appear as needed. Serenity also protects you from misinterpretation. When you are desperate, you are more likely to twist coincidences into forced meanings. You may grasp at irrelevant patterns just to feel reassured, but when you are calm, you discern more clearly. You recognize which signals carry resonance and which do not. You interpret with wisdom rather than with anxiety. This keeps the language of synchronicity pure. There is a sacred power in this calm state. It is not flashy, not dramatic, yet it is magnetic beyond measure. When you radiate serenity, people around you feel it. Opportunities flow toward you. Alignments multiply. The universe seems to lean closer. This is not because you are doing more, but because you are being more. Your state becomes the prayer, and synchronicity is the answer. Surrender also teaches patience. It reminds you that timing is part of the design. Just because you do not see signs every moment does not mean the alignment has stopped. The roots grow before the branches appear. The silence between synchronicities is not absence but integration. Trusting this silence is as important as honoring the signals. Both are part of the dialogue. In truth, serenity, surrender, and stillness do not create synchronicity, they reveal it. The signals were always flowing, but your turbulence distorted them. When you calm the waters, the reflection appears. This is why mastery of your state is the greatest skill you can develop. The clearer your state, the clearer the language of the universe. So let this be your practice. Cultivate serenity even when circumstances are uncertain. Surrender the need to control every detail and trust the intelligence of the field. Create moments of stillness each day to sharpen your perception. In doing so, you will notice the language of synchronicity becoming fluent, flowing, and undeniable. You will realize that you are not chasing signs. You are living inside a universe that is constantly speaking, and you have finally quieted yourself enough to hear. Synchronicity is your inner compass. Every shift in consciousness is anchored by identity. The way you see yourself determines the boundaries of what you believe is possible. When you change who you believe you are, you change what you allow into your experience. This is why synchronicity is so deeply tied to identity. It is not simply that the universe throws random signs at you. The signs arise because your frequency has shifted and your new identity is broadcasting into the field. The universe reflects that broadcast, and synchronicity becomes the mirror confirming who you have become. At first, this process feels unstable. You are stepping into a version of yourself that is not yet familiar, and your nervous system protests. The mind wavers between old beliefs and new possibilities. You may feel torn between the comfort of the past and the pull of the future. In this in-between state, synchronicities often flood in. They arrive to stabilize you, to anchor you in the frequency of the new identity before it is fully embodied. They are like signposts saying, "Keep walking, this is the way." The deeper you commit to the new identity, the more coherent the synchronicities become. At first, the signals may be scattered, sporadic, or symbolic. But as your embodiment strengthens, the signals gain precision. They begin to answer specific questions, confirm specific intentions, and guide specific choices. This is when synchronicity stops feeling like a novelty and begins to feel like a compass. Identity rewiring is the hidden mechanism here. When you think a new thought, you carve a new neural pathway. When you act from a new belief, you strengthen that pathway. Over time, the old patterns weaken and the new ones stabilize. As this rewiring takes place, synchronicity reflects the process. The external alignments become more consistent as your internal wiring becomes more consistent. The signals are not random, they are feedback showing that the rewiring is working. This is why synchronicities can feel fragile at first. When your new identity is still delicate, a single moment of doubt can seem to silence the signals. But the more you repeat the state, the more you live from the new identity, the more resilient the synchronicities become. Eventually, they stabilize into a continuous dialogue. You no longer need to chase them. You live inside them. Consider how a compass works. A compass does not show you the entire map. It does not reveal every twist of the path. It gives you a single direction. Synchronicity functions the same way. It does not tell you everything, but it points you. It says this way, not that way. When you learn to trust it, you realize you do not need the whole map. The signs are enough because each one leads to the next. The journey unfolds step by step, guided by resonance. This is why synchronicity is so powerful in decision-making. When faced with uncertainty, your rational mind may become paralyzed by overthinking, but synchronicity cuts through the noise. A signal appears that aligns with one choice and not with the others. The resonance confirms the path. This does not mean you abandon reason, but it means you honor the dialogue between reason and resonance. When both point the same way, the choice becomes clear. Living with synchronicity as a compass requires humility. You must be willing to follow the signals even when they lead into the unknown. You must trust that the universe sees a larger picture than you do. Sometimes the signs guide you away from what looks safe and toward what looks uncertain. Yet in hindsight, you realize the uncertain path was the doorway to expansion. The compass of synchronicity does not flatter your comfort, it serves your evolution. Over time, this trust transforms your relationship with life. You stop fighting the flow. You stop demanding control over every outcome. Instead, you walk in partnership with the field, allowing synchronicity to steer you. This does not make you passive. On the contrary, it makes you more engaged because you are no longer paralyzed by doubt. You act with confidence, knowing the compass will correct your course as needed. Identity rewiring also reveals why different people see different levels of synchronicity. Someone who sees themselves as unlucky, disconnected, or powerless broadcasts that identity into the field. The universe mirrors it back with randomness or scarcity. Someone who sees themselves as aligned, guided, and worthy broadcasts that frequency. The universe mirrors it back with synchronicities that confirm the belief. This is not favoritism, it is resonance. The field reflects who you believe you are. This is why inner work is the foundation of outer guidance. You cannot fake your identity. If deep down you still see yourself as small, the field reflects smallness. But when you truly embody greatness, synchronicity confirms it. The signals are not arbitrary, they are the living echo of your self-perception. Change the self, and the signals follow. There is a moment in every transformation when you realize the synchronicities are no longer fragile. They are steady, constant, woven into daily life. At this stage, you no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer question whether the signs are real. You live with the quiet confidence that the universe is always speaking. Synchronicity becomes less of a miracle and more of a natural rhythm. This is when the compass has truly stabilized. But even here, humility is vital. The ego will try to claim ownership, to boast that it controls synchronicity. But synchronicity cannot be owned. It is not a trick of the mind but a dialogue with the infinite. The moment you try to dominate it, the signal distorts. The compass remains true only when you remain surrendered. Trust, gratitude, and humility keep the dialogue pure. In practical terms, living with synchronicity as a compass changes everything. Decisions become lighter. Risks feel less threatening. Doubt loses its grip. You still face challenges, but you face them with a sense of guidance. Even setbacks are reframed as detours within the larger design. You realize that nothing is wasted because every step carries meaning. When synchronicity stabilizes in your life, you begin to see patterns that span years, not just moments. A sign that appeared long ago reveals its meaning in the present. An encounter from the past suddenly connects with an opportunity today. The threads of your life weave into a tapestry that makes sense in hindsight. This deepens your trust because you see that the universe has been guiding you all along, even when you doubted it. Identity rewiring is ongoing. Each time you expand into a larger version of yourself, the compass recalibrates. New synchronicities appear to guide the next stage. This means the journey never ends. You will always be growing, always refining, always deepening your dialogue with the universe. The signals never stop. They only change shape as you evolve. So if you are in the midst of rewiring your identity, pay attention to the synchronicities. They are not random sparks, but the reflection of your becoming. Let them stabilize you when you feel fragile. Let them guide you when you feel uncertain. Let them confirm that the compass is true. And as you embody the new self fully, walk with confidence, knowing the universe is always in conversation with you. Universal numbers and archetypal signals. Across cultures and across centuries, people have spoken about signs that arrive at pivotal moments. Certain numbers, symbols, or patterns seem to carry a universal resonance, a kind of shared language of synchronicity that transcends personal experience. These signals act as markers, reminding you that you are not only walking your individual path, but also tapping into a collective current of meaning. They are not coincidences, but archetypes woven into the structure of consciousness itself. One of the most common forms of synchronicity people notice is repeating numbers. You glance at a clock and see 11:11. You check a receipt and the total is 22.22. You wake up in the middle of the night and the time is 3:33. These repeating numbers are more than statistical curiosities. They carry resonance because they appear at moments of heightened awareness. They often coincide with times when you are asking questions, seeking direction, or standing on the edge of change. They serve as a reminder that reality is responsive, that the field is echoing your state back to you. Different numbers carry different symbolic meanings. For example, 111 often feels like the vibration of new beginnings, a call to step into alignment with your intentions. 222 carries the sense of balance and partnership, a reminder that cooperation and patience are part of your path. 333 feels like creative expansion, as though the universe is reminding you to express and embody your gifts. 777, often called the number of divine alignment, feels like confirmation that you are at a threshold, that your frequency has reached a level where reality itself is reorganizing around you. These interpretations are not fixed rules but resonances that many people across traditions have recognized. The reason numbers often act as signals is because they are pure symbols. They are not tied to one culture or one language but are universal patterns. Your subconscious recognizes them instantly, and when they appear repeatedly, they carry weight. They bypass the rational mind and speak directly to the deeper layers of awareness. This is why they feel so powerful. They are not just numbers. They are archetypal signals of alignment. Symbols also appear outside of numbers. Animals, objects, and events can all act as universal signals. Seeing a butterfly at a moment of transformation, encountering an eagle when you are seeking clarity, or noticing a rainbow after a period of doubt, these are not random encounters. They are reflections of the archetypes that live in the collective unconscious. They carry resonance because they connect you to something larger than yourself. They remind you that you are part of a shared language of meaning woven into the cosmos. What is most important to understand is that these universal signals often appear at thresholds of breakthrough. When you are about to cross into a new phase, the signals cluster. The universe seems to amplify them as if to say, "Pay attention, you are entering sacred territory." This is why so many people report floods of synchronicities right before major life changes. It is not imagination, it is resonance. The field mirrors the intensity of your transition with an intensity of signals. 777 in particular has become a kind of universal shorthand for alignment. People across the world recognize it as a sign that something significant is unfolding. When you see it, you feel a surge of reassurance, as if reality itself is nodding in agreement. It is not the number itself that holds magic, but the resonance it has taken on through collective recognition. The universe uses this shared symbol to communicate because it knows you will understand. The threshold of breakthrough often feels both exhilarating and disorienting. You may feel like reality is accelerating, like events are happening faster than you can process. You may feel flooded with synchronicities, each one confirming that something extraordinary is happening. At times, it can almost feel overwhelming, as if the universe is speaking so loudly you cannot keep up. This is the moment of threshold. It is the edge where the old dissolves and the new begins. At these times, it is crucial to remain steady. Do not let the flood of signals unground you. Instead, treat them as confirmations, as proof that the path is unfolding. Trust that the universe is guiding you, even if the full picture is not yet clear. The signals are not there to confuse you but to anchor you. They remind you that you are not imagining your transformation. You are living it. One of the most beautiful aspects of universal signals is that they often connect people across time and culture. Mystics in ancient traditions wrote about sacred numbers, animals, and omens that align perfectly with what people still experience today. This continuity shows that synchronicity is not a fad or a superstition, but a fundamental feature of consciousness. It is the way the universe has always spoken, and it continues to speak in the same symbols because they carry timeless resonance. Some may argue that seeing these signals is mere confirmation bias, that you notice them only because you are looking for them. But if you have experienced them, you know they arrive with a timing too precise to dismiss. They appear not just when you are looking, but when you are asking, when you are on the cusp of change, when you most need reassurance. The timing itself is the signature. It is the universe's way of saying, "This is not random, this is for you." When you embrace these signals as part of the dialogue, they deepen your trust. Each time they appear, they remind you that reality is alive and participatory. They remind you that you are not separate from the field but woven into it. They remind you that your inner shifts are mirrored in the outer world. This trust transforms your relationship to life. Instead of seeing the world as inert and silent, you see it as intelligent and responsive. You are no longer walking blind but walking in conversation with the infinite. Universal signals also show that synchronicity is not limited to personal guidance but carries collective significance. When large numbers of people notice the same signs at the same time, it suggests a collective threshold is being crossed. This is why during times of global change, synchronicities seem to increase across the board. The field reflects not only individual transitions but collective ones. The universe is speaking not only to you but through you, weaving your path into the larger evolution of consciousness. So when you encounter repeating numbers, symbolic animals, or archetypal signs, do not dismiss them as chance. Recognize them as part of the universe's secret language. Recognize them as confirmations that you are approaching or crossing a threshold. Recognize them as reminders that you are not alone but part of a larger pattern unfolding. And most of all, trust them. They are not there to entertain you but to guide you into alignment with who you truly are. The universe has always spoken in symbols. From the stars to the scriptures, from myths to mathematics, meaning has always been encoded in patterns. Synchronicity is the living continuation of this ancient dialogue. It is the reminder that beneath the apparent randomness of life lies an order so precise, so intelligent, and so responsive that it can only be described as miraculous. And when you learn to read the signals, you realize that miracle is not rare. It is woven into every moment, waiting for your awareness to awaken. Living fully inside synchronicity, there comes a moment when synchronicity stops feeling like an occasional spark and begins to feel like the atmosphere you breathe. You no longer question whether the signs are real, no longer doubt whether the universe is speaking. You live in such alignment that the dialogue becomes continuous. Every day brings confirmations, nudges, and reflections that guide you forward. You are no longer waiting for synchronicity. You are living inside it. At this stage, the shift is not about chasing signs but about embodying the conversation. You walk as though the universe is always speaking, because it is. You hold your intentions with clarity but without desperation. You listen to the subtle whispers of alignment, trusting that the louder confirmations will arrive when needed. Life becomes less about forcing outcomes and more about listening deeply to the signals that already surround you. Living inside synchronicity transforms the way you approach challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as random misfortune, you recognize them as part of the dialogue. A closed door is not rejection but redirection. A delay is not punishment but preparation. A setback is not failure but feedback. Each experience carries meaning, and synchronicity highlights that meaning at the exact moment you are ready to see it. This does not eliminate struggle, but it reframes it. You realize that every struggle is embedded with guidance if you are willing to listen. This state of awareness also deepens your sense of belonging. You no longer feel like a solitary figure navigating a silent world. You feel like a participant in a living field of intelligence. Synchronicity reminds you daily that you are seen, heard, and guided. This dissolves loneliness and cultivates trust. Even when others cannot see the path you are walking, the universe itself reassures you that you are not walking it alone. In this way, synchronicity becomes more than a tool. It becomes a way of being. You embody presence, sensitivity, and trust. You allow the universe to lead, not by abdicating responsibility, but by collaborating with the larger intelligence that surrounds you. You realize that your thoughts, emotions, and actions are not isolated events but notes in a cosmic symphony. Each synchronicity is the echo of your note resonating through the field. Living in this dialogue requires humility. The ego will try to claim credit, to boast that it has mastered the universe. But the truth is that you cannot master synchronicity. You can only harmonize with it. The signals do not belong to you. They flow through you. They are not proof of your control but proof of your connection. When you live in humility, the dialogue deepens because the universe responds not to arrogance but to openness. Another shift that occurs in this state is the dissolution of fear. When you trust synchronicity, you no longer fear the unknown. You may not know how or when things will unfold, but you know that you will be guided. The signs will appear when needed. The path will reveal itself step by step. Fear loses its grip because you have evidence that reality responds. You have lived the dialogue enough times to trust it. This trust becomes your anchor, allowing you to walk boldly into uncertainty. This way of living also enhances your creativity. Synchronicity often brings inspiration in the form of unexpected connections. A chance encounter sparks a new idea. A phrase overheard reveals a solution. A dream aligns with an opportunity that appears the next day. When you are attuned, you realize that creativity is not something you generate alone, but something you participate in with the universe. Ideas flow more freely because you are in dialogue with a larger field of intelligence. Relationships also shift in this state. You begin to recognize that the people who enter your life do so with purpose. Synchronicity orchestrates connections that serve your growth, your healing, and your expansion. Some arrive for a season, some for a lifetime, but each carries meaning. You stop clinging to relationships out of fear and instead honor the timing of their appearance. You see every connection as part of the conversation, each one a messenger in the dialogue of synchronicity. Living inside synchronicity also cultivates a deeper appreciation for mystery. You no longer need to understand everything intellectually. You are content to experience the magic without dissecting it. You know that the universe is intelligent, even if your mind cannot map the entire design. This acceptance of mystery does not weaken you, it frees you. You can walk with wonder, curiosity, and openness, allowing life to surprise you again and again. The ultimate realization is that synchronicity is not separate from reality. It is reality seen clearly. The universe has always been speaking. The signals have always been present. The only difference is that now you are listening. You are tuned to the frequency of meaning, and in that frequency, everything is alive with guidance. You no longer see the world as inert matter, but as conscious energy in conversation with you. This changes not only how you live, but who you are. As you embody this awareness, you become a signal yourself. Your presence radiates alignment, and others notice. You become a living synchronicity for those around you, a walking reminder that reality is responsive. People may feel guided simply by being near you, not because you are doing anything special, but because your state itself is coherent. This is the ripple effect of living inside synchronicity. You become part of the universe's language, a messenger in the dialogue of consciousness. The invitation is to live this way every day, not to treat synchronicity as rare magic, but to recognize it as the natural flow of a responsive universe. The more you embody this, the more natural it becomes. You wake each day expecting alignment, not with arrogance but with trust. You walk each moment listening for the dialogue, not with desperation but with openness. You fall asleep each night knowing that you are carried by an intelligence larger than yourself. In the end, the secret language of synchronicity is not just about receiving signs. It is about realizing that you are inseparable from the intelligence that sends them. You are not outside the conversation, you are inside it. You are both the speaker and the listener, both the sender and the receiver. Reality is not happening to you, it is happening with you. And synchronicity is the proof that this partnership is real. So live as though every moment carries meaning, because it does. Trust the signals when they appear. Remain serene in their absence, knowing the silence is part of the rhythm. Embody the new identity that the signs confirm. Walk boldly into the unknown, guided by a compass that never fails. And above all, remember that the universe is always speaking, always aligning, always reflecting. Synchronicity is not the exception, it is the essence of reality itself.